We're just a few days away from Tokyo Game Show. We're looking at, I think it's Saturday, but that's Friday night at midnight here on the East Coast. So yeah, we're like literally just a couple days away from this huge blowout for Final Fantasy VII Rebirth at Tokyo Game Show. So I wanted to dive into one thing I have been thinking about for a few months now. Like, before we got confirmation that this game was going to be right around 100 hours if you complete it, my feeling was we were getting at least a 60 to 70 hour experience with this game. This estimate they threw out there really goes above and beyond that. So if you take into account Midgar in the original game is around 10% of the story, give or take, if you're grinding or how fast you go through the game. Midgar is roughly 10% of the story. Midgar, on average, playthrough, I think was, or Final Fantasy VII Remake, which was just Midgar, was 35 hours, roughly. That's crazy. If that's 10% of the story, and if they're scaling everything in the story, at least to the amount that they scaled Midgar, you're looking at the second game is 100 hours. If we get a 100 plus hour experience out of game 3, we're looking at anywhere from 250 to 300 hours of content. Now, I really milked Final Fantasy VII Remake. I think I put 100 hours on that game. Just grinding and leveling everything and maxing everybody out, which now it doesn't matter because the saves aren't going to carry over, I don't believe. But that's irrelevant. They made a point to say that you don't have to play Remake to pick this game up and play it as a fresh experience. So I'm really excited about that. Square has stated that Rebirth is going to be 100 hours of content. Side missions, all that other kind of stuff. And Midgar only represents 10%, like we said earlier. They're scaling everything. They're adding content, they're adding side quests and all that kind of thing. So this makes me look at what we're being presented through a different lens. So I know you're thinking, okay, Ray, what are you saying? Get to the point. Okay, here's the point. We know we're getting a trilogy, but just because we finished the first game in a trilogy, that does not mean we are a third of the way through the experience. We're not a third of the way through this tale. Far from it. We might not even be 10% of the way through it, because there's so much more to introduce. If you look at the scope and the grandeur of what we saw in the third trailer for Rebirth, the traversing the different worlds, the mountain chocobos, the black chocobos. Now you've got the new sky chocobos, and we got the buggy that you get when you leave the desert prison. It can go through creeks and deep water and all that kind of stuff. There's a lot of open world assets to this game and what they're doing. So, and they've also said that they're going to go out of order with things. So we might be introduced to characters at different times. Now, the big elephant in the room, okay? The big elephant in the room. Everybody's mad that there's a possibility we won't play as Vincent in this game, even though we know we're going to see him. We might not even see or play as Sid in this game. Apparently, that could be the case. At first, it ruffled my feathers to think about that. But then when I thought about how big all this stuff is, the original Final Fantasy VII, you don't get Sid and Vincent till roughly halfway through the game. I don't remember exactly when. It's like roughly halfway through the game. But anyway, a lot has been speculated about those two. Who's going to be playable in Rebirth and who will be introduced in the final installment. With this logic, it's almost a moot point if we're going to get a 100 plus hour experience in the third game. That's 4 times the amount of time you had with the characters that were introduced in the second half of the original game, if you take into account that you had them for the last 20 hours or so in the original, and you could possibly have them for 80 to 100 hours in game number 3. Now, a lot of that's going to depend on how long it takes us to get to game number 3, right? And also, we're not even talking about DLC and stuff. we got the intermission DLC for Final Fantasy VII Remake. We don't know what types of DLC they might have on the horizon for Rebirth and what DLCs they might have for the third game afterward or whatever. So when you take into account everything that they're creating, the world, the scope, the expanded lore, bringing in other characters that have been used in the compilation, the guy in the hood, whether you think it's Genesis or Glenn or Dyne or whoever, it's obvious they're using the characters of the expanded lore. They're going to bring them in. A lot of you all, I have not read Traces of Two Past. A lot of you all told me the doctor that I originally thought was Mediel, and now I think it's Coral. That doctor is from that book. Okay, so they're pulling in book characters, which I don't necessarily agree with. If they introduce him in the game in a way that's like introducing the character for the first time, so to speak. If you've read the book, you got a little bit of a leg up, but people shouldn't have to read the book to know what's going on in the story. As the game designer, you present the game, but especially if at the end of the day you're going to have almost 300 hours to tell your story, you shouldn't need secondary materials to tell the story in the game. That's been my point. I'm not against reading the books. I think they're great, I think they're fine, but you shouldn't have to know what's going on there to know what's going on here, especially if you're having 300 hours to tell your story. All that together, all that being said, this game is going to be massive. There's going to be so much they pump into this, so much they add. Now, I don't think there's going to be like distance padding, because Midgar was weird, right? There would be places you would go to out of the way to fight to get to, and there's nothing there. I don't think that's going to happen in Rebirth, and it's not going to feel like that's what's happening in Rebirth, because I really feel like this is an open world. You see the mountain chocobos climbing up the side of a mountain. You see the sky chocobos descending from an area. You get the buggy to go over creeks and stuff like that. This world is fleshed out. This world is fleshed out. And they made a point to say they want you to be able to freely explore the world. And I think it's going to be at our own pace. You're going to be able to hit story elements and things. I think missions will be available. Sections will become available of the map as you get different things. Everybody's complaining that it's not going to be open world because Wutai is not available. Well, you don't need to go to Wutai yet. It kind of makes sense because we're probably not getting the high wind until game number 3. That's why I think Wutai won't be accessible. So how do we get to the Northern Crate? How do we get to the Forgotten Capital? Well, you take a boat. I mean, it makes sense why you can't just take a boat to Wutai, because there's this ongoing conflict. There might be travel restrictions or something like that. You can't just get on a civilian boat and go to Wutai. It makes sense. The depth of everything we're going to get. We don't know if the other characters we're going to get are just Vincent and Sid. We might get other characters. I don't think it's far-fetched to think you might play as Zack at some point. You know, we will lose Cloud at some point. We will lose Cloud. That is the cornerstone. That is the central pillar, to me, of the story of Final Fantasy VII, is Cloud losing himself and then having to cobble himself back together with Tifa's help. Will Tifa be around? I don't know. That's a story. I've done a video on that already. A couple years ago, I did my theory that, about Tifa and all that kind of thing. But anyway, I don't want to get too far off track. But there's a lot of story in this. There's going to be a lot of things going on. Rebirth, 100 hours. Final Fantasy VII Remake, I think the average playtime was 30 to 35 hours. I mean, I probably put about 75 to 100 hours on that game. And people forget how much stuff happens at the end of the game in Final Fantasy VII. There's a lot of cleanup. Things that probably won't happen in Rebirth. And I'll do a video about this. Things that probably aren't going to happen in Rebirth. Your re-entry into Midgar. The returning to the Forgotten Capital with Bugenhagen. Of course, in the original game, that's after Aerith has died and you're looking for the white materia. The submarine stuff. The Crash Galinka, the Crash Shinra plane with all the monsters and things. There's so much that's going to happen. And final resolutions with, I think, Barrett and Dyne will have a thing going on. And then whatever is happening with the fusing of the now two realities that exist because of Zack being saved and Sephiroth tampering with the Whispers and all that kind of stuff. So there's going to be new end game stuff, and whether you fall on that one way or the other, irrelevant. That's not what this video is about. The Square is planning a massive experience, and I'm all set. I can't wait for TGS. I'm super excited. Tomorrow I'm going to drop a video on what I want to see at TGS. What I think we're going to see based on some rumblings that I'm hearing, and just kind of based on how they might want to market this thing. So until then, appreciate the love and support. You all take it easy, keep rocking, have a great day, be safe, be good to each other, and I will see you all later on tonight for a live stream. We'll have a live stream discussion tonight, and I think we might do it on Twitch. So anyway, twitch.tv/Ray Coffman's where it's at. Go follow me over there, and I will see you all later on tonight. Take care. I want to say a quick thank you to my YouTube and Patreon members and supporters. If you would like to support the future creation of content on this channel, get some few extra perks and some art sent to your door every month, consider becoming a Patreon or YouTube member. Details and links are in the video description.